Emma Reyes had always been an explorer at heart. Even when she was a child, she loved maps more than toys. And stories of faraway places always filled her with excitement. So when she finally saved enough money for a solo trip across New Mexico, she packed her small car with snacks, a notebook, and her camera, ready to collect memories of quiet roads, warm sunsets, and endless skies. For the first few days, she followed her plans with the careful joy of someone who wanted to enjoy every moment. She stopped in tiny towns, talked to friendly shop owners, and took pictures of old wooden signs and dusty roads that looked like they belonged in a storybook. She slept in small inns, ate simple food, and wrote in her journal each night about the different people she met. But on the fourth day, the weather changed. A sudden windstorm swept across the desert, pulling sand into the air and blocking her view of the road. Emma slowed her car, trying to stay calm, but the swirling sand made it hard to see where she was going. The GPS on her phone lost signal, and she soon realized she might have turned onto a smaller road without noticing. The road looked less like a street and more like a dirt path. Her car shook over the uneven ground. She told herself it was fine. She had water, she had fuel, and she had always been good at finding her way. But as she drove farther, the wind grew stronger, and the car began to struggle against it. When she finally decided to stop and wait for the weather to calm, her engine made a coughing sound and went quiet. No matter how many times she tried, it refused to start again. For a moment, Emma sat still with her hands on the steering wheel. She wasn't hurt, and she wasn't in danger, but she was alone. The wind pushed against the car windows, making a hollow sound that reminded her of distant voices. She took a few deep breaths and told herself she just needed to find shelter for a little while. The storm would pass, and she could call for help later. She stepped out of the car, using her jacket to shield her eyes from the sand. When she looked around, she noticed a group of old buildings, not too far away. They looked worn and unused, but they were the only structures in sight. Hoping they would offer some protection from the wind, she walked toward them. The buildings turned out to be part of an old ranch, long abandoned. The wooden boards were faded, and some roofs had holes where sunlight shined through. But one small shed near the edge of the property looked steady enough to stand in for a short time. Emma pushed the door open, relieved to find that the inside was dry and calm. Dust floated in the air like tiny glittering stars. Old tools lay scattered around, and a long chain was attached to a post in the corner, probably used years ago for tying equipment together. Emma didn't think much about it as she stepped inside. She simply wanted a break from the wind. The storm grew louder outside, and she sat on an overturned wooden crate, sipping water from her bottle. Minutes passed quietly. She felt the tension in her shoulders start to melt away. She even smiled a little, thinking how strange it would be to write about this in her journal later. Got lost in a sandstorm. Found an old shed. Felt like I stepped into a forgotten world. But when she stood up to look around the shed, her foot accidentally brushed against the loose end of the chain on the floor. The metal link slid under her shoe, and when she tried to pull back, her ankle slipped into a small, circular clamp attached to the chain. It snapped shut with a sharp click. Emma froze. She gently lifted her foot, expecting the clamp to open easily, but it didn't move. She tried again. Nothing. The mechanism must have been old and stiff, stuck in place after years without use. She crouched down and pushed the sides of the clamp, using all her fingers, but it remained tightly locked around her ankle. A nervous laugh slipped out of her. "Really?" she whispered. "This is happening today, of all days?" She tried again, harder this time. Pushing, pulling, twisting, anything to make it open. But the metal was solid and unmoving, as if it had decided that once closed, it would never open again. Emma looked around the shed for a tool that might help. There was an old hammer, but its head was loose and fell off when she picked it up. There were some wooden boards, but nothing she could use to break metal. She even tried dragging the chain to see if she could free the part where it connected to the post, but the base was fixed firmly into the ground. A small knot of worry formed in her stomach. The chain wasn't short, but it wasn't long enough to let her reach the door. She could stand, sit, and move a few steps, but she couldn't leave the shed. She was stuck, not because of anything dangerous or threatening, but simply because old iron had closed at the wrong moment. Emma sat down, hugging her knees to her chest. She took a slow breath, then another. She reminded herself that she wasn't in real danger. The storm would pass. Someone would come down the road eventually. Her car was nearby. She had water and a bit of food. She just needed to stay calm. But calmness didn't come easily. The wind outside made the walls creak, and every time she tested the chain again, the sound of metal scraping across the floor made her heart beat faster. Time moved slowly. She checked her phone, hoping it might catch a signal, but the screen remained blank, no bars, no connection. She tried to think of all the possible ways someone might find her. The ranch looked deserted, but maybe a caretaker visited it sometimes. Maybe a traveler passing by would see her car. Maybe she could call out when the wind stopped. She practiced what she would yell. "Hello? I'm here. I need help." It wasn't a dramatic cry, it was gentle, hopeful. The kind of call someone might use when they believe help will come. Hours passed in a quiet mix of waiting, thinking, and trying not to let worry wrap itself around her heart. She studied the patterns in the wooden walls, counted the gaps in the roof, and even gave names to a few old objects on the floor just to distract herself. The broken hammer became Harry. The crate she sat on became Old Reliable. She talked to them softly, half joking, half comforting herself. "This is a strange place to meet someone," she whispered. "And you, Old Reliable. I hope you stay reliable for a bit longer." She imagined how she would tell this story someday, how unbelievable it would sound. She pictured her friends laughing with shock. "You got stuck in a shed? With a chain? By accident?" And she would laugh too. Once she was free. She knew she would. Still, the quiet moments between her hopeful thoughts felt long and heavy. The sun outside shifted, and the warm golden light made long shadows across the floor. Emma watched them stretch and move until they reached the far wall. At one point, she closed her eyes and pictured home. Her mother's gentle voice, her father's warm smile, the soft hum of the kitchen radio. She imagined telling them she was okay. She imagined hugging them, and the thought gave her strength. She didn't know how long she sat there before she heard something new, something different from the wind. A soft, distant sound. Hoofsteps. Slow, steady hoofsteps on dry ground. Emma opened her eyes. Someone was coming, and for the first time that day, hope rose in her chest like sunlight breaking through a storm. Emma held her breath as the sound of hoofsteps grew closer. She wasn't sure if she was imagining it at first, because the hours of silence had made every sound feel uncertain. But when she listened carefully, she could hear the steady rhythm of an animal's feet hitting the ground, soft, slow, and unmistakably real. A horse was approaching. Her heart lifted. She scooted toward the doorway of the shed as far as the chain allowed. The metal links rustled against the dirt floor, and she gently tugged on them, as if wishing they would magically grow an extra few inches. But they didn't. She was still stuck, just barely out of sight, from the open land outside. She tilted her head, trying to see through the gap between the door and the frame. The wind had calmed since earlier, and the air now carried a warm, dusty scent. The sky outside glowed with soft afternoon light, and it cast a golden haze across the ranch. Through the doorway, she could see movement. A horse's ear, then its head, then the figure riding it. Emma blinked, wondering if she was dreaming. The rider looked like someone from an old Western story, calm posture, steady gaze, a wide-brimmed hat shading his eyes. He guided the horse slowly, scanning the land as if checking on something important. He didn't see her yet. Emma swallowed and gathered her courage. Her voice felt small after hours of silence, but she managed to call out, "Hello? Is someone there?" The horse immediately stopped. Its ears perked up, and the rider sat a little straighter. He turned, in the direction of her voice. Emma tried again. "I'm here, in the shed." This time her voice sounded clearer, more hopeful. The rider nudged the horse forward, and within moments he reached the shed doorway. Sunlight framed him from behind, and for a moment, Emma could only see his silhouette. But when he stepped inside, gently guiding the horse to stay still outside, she saw him clearly. He looked to be in his early 30s. His hair was dark, slightly messy from the wind. His skin was sun-touched from long days outdoors. He had a calm, thoughtful expression. The kind that made a person feel safe without him even saying a word. His clothes were simple boots worn from work, jeans with dust on them, and a shirt that looked like it belonged to someone who spent more time under the open sky than indoors. He took one look at Emma sitting near the chained post, and his eyes widened with surprise and concern. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked gently. Emma let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. His voice was warm, steady, and full of genuine worry. I'm okay," she said, trying to sound calmer than she felt. "But I seem to be stuck." The man stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "Name's Cole," he said softly. "Cole Dawson. This is my family's ranch. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to check on everything." "How long have you been here?" "How long have you been here?" Emma tried to smile, though her nerves still danced in her chest. "A few hours. Maybe more. I lost track of time." Cole crouched down beside her, giving the chain a thoughtful look. He didn't touch it right away. He first looked at Emma's ankle to make sure she was comfortable. "Did this hurt you at all?" "No," she said quickly. "It just snapped shut when I stepped on it. I didn't know it was there." Cole exhaled softly, shaking his head. "This old place hasn't been used in years. Some things here are so old, I'm surprised they hold together at all." His calmness made her shoulders relax a little. He gently tested the chain and the clamp. "It's stuck tight," he murmured. "But don't worry. We'll get you out of this." "Undermine." The way he said it steady, without doubt, gave Emma a deep sense of relief. She hadn't realized how tense she'd been until that moment. Cole stood and walked outside to fetch something from his saddlebag. When he returned, he carried a small tool kit. "I keep this with me for fence repairs," he explained with a small, reassuring smile. "It should help." Emma watched him as he worked. He moved with careful confidence, checking the clamp, the rust, the hinges. Every now and then he looked up and asked if she was comfortable, if the chain felt too tight, or if she needed water. His kindness felt steady, like a warm blanket on a cold night. After a few minutes, Cole adjusted one of the tools and applied pressure to the old metal. The clamp creaked softly. Emma held her breath. Cole's hand was firm but gentle, guiding the tool with patience. There was a soft click. The clamp loosened. Emma gasped with relief as she lifted her ankle free. The skin underneath was a little red from pressure, but it wasn't hurt. "You're free," Cole said with a warm smile that reached his eyes. Emma felt gratitude swell in her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." Cole nodded. "Let's get you out of here. You must be tired, and probably hungry." He offered his hand to help her stand. Emma hesitated for just a second, not out of fear, but out of the sudden realization that she had been alone for hours. And now someone was finally here, reaching out to her with genuine care. She placed her hand in his, and he pulled her up gently. The world outside the shed looked brighter than she remembered. The wind had settled into a quiet breeze, brushing across the grass. Cole walked beside her, careful not to rush her steps. "Where's your car?" he asked. "Just a little down the road," she replied. "It stopped working in the storm." He nodded respectfully. "Storms can be tricky out here. They come fast and leave just as fast." Emma glanced at him. "Were you out in it?" "No," he said. "I came back just after it passed. Lucky timing, I guess." "Lucky for me," she said softly. Cole paused, meeting her eyes with gentle sincerity. "I'm glad I got here when I did." They stopped near his horse, and he offered her a drink of water from a canteen. She took a few sips, feeling life return to her body. "So what now?" she asked. uncertain about the next step. Well, Cole said kindly, first we should get you somewhere comfortable. My ranch house isn't far from here. You can rest, get cleaned up, and then we'll figure out what to do about your car. Emma hesitated, not out of doubt, but because the moment felt strangely emotional. She had been so alone, so unsure, and now here was someone offering safety, warmth, and help without asking for anything in return. She looked into his steady eyes and realized how deeply she wanted to leave that lonely shed behind. Without even thinking, her voice softened, full of quiet hope. She whispered, "Take me with you." Cole blinked gently, surprised by the softness of her request. Then he gave a slow, warm nod. "Of course," he said. "You're safe now. Let's go." And as the two of them walked together toward the comforting open land, the sun dipped lower behind the hills, painting the sky in soft gold like a sign that a new chapter was quietly beginning. The ride to Cole's ranch house felt like stepping into a different world. Emma sat behind him on the horse, holding lightly onto the saddle, feeling the steady rhythm of the animal beneath them. After hours of fear, silence, and loneliness, the gentle movement felt comforting. The air smelled of warm earth and dry grass, and the fading sunlight softened everything it touched. Cole didn't speak much during the short ride, not because he was unfriendly, but because he seemed to understand that Emma needed a moment to breathe. Every now and then, he glanced back to make sure she was steady and comfortable. The simple kindness of that gesture brought her a sense of calm she hadn't realized she needed. When they reached the ranch house, Emma was surprised by how peaceful it looked. It wasn't fancy or modern. It was simple, a cozy wooden house with a wide porch, a few rocking chairs, and windows that reflected the colors of the evening sky. Flower pots sat along the porch railing, some filled with blooming wildflowers. Cole helped her down from the horse. "Welcome," he said gently. "It's not much, but it's home." Emma smiled softly. "It's beautiful." Inside, the house felt warm. The living room had a stone fireplace, a soft rug, and shelves filled with books, old photos, and small wooden carvings that looked handmade. There was a quiet, comforting atmosphere, like the house had seen years of simple, happy moments. "Sit wherever you like," Cole said, placing his hat on a hook near the door. "Let me get you some water and something to eat." Emma sat on the edge of the couch, her ankle resting gently on a pillow he'd quickly placed for her. She looked around the room while he stepped into the kitchen. Everything in his home told her something about him. He was calm, thoughtful, and someone who cared about the little details. He returned with a tray warm soup, bread, and a glass of cold water. "I hope this is all right," he said. "It's perfect," she replied, touched by his care. As she ate, Cole sat across from her, giving her space but staying close enough that she didn't feel alone. After a few minutes, he spoke softly. "If you feel up to it, I'd like to know what happened today. Not to worry you, just so I can help." Emma nodded. She felt safe enough now to talk. She told him about the sandstorm, about taking the wrong road, and about her car stopping. She explained how she found the shed and how the chain accidentally locked around her ankle. Cole listened closely, nodding gently. He didn't interrupt, didn't rush her. When she finished, he rested his hands on his knees and let out a thoughtful breath. "I'm really glad you called out when you did," he said. "I wouldn't have checked that shed today. It was luck, or something close to it." Emma felt a warm gratitude fill her chest. "I'm glad you came." Cole smiled, a quiet, peaceful smile. "Me too." A comfortable silence filled the room for a moment. Then, Cole stood. "I should check your ankle properly," he said kindly, "just to make sure there's no swelling." He brought a small first aid box and sat near her. He didn't touch her without asking first, always making sure she felt comfortable. When he examined the red mark around her ankle, he nodded with relief. "It's just pressure from the clamp," he said. "A little rest, and it will be fine." Emma relaxed. "Thank you." Cole placed a soft cloth around it, just for comfort. "You've had a long day," he said gently. "If you like, you can rest in the guest room tonight." Emma blinked in surprise. "Are you sure?" "I don't want to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all," he said with the same warm sincerity she had felt from him since the moment he found her. "You need rest, and it's safer than heading out in the dark." Emma hesitated only because the kindness felt overwhelming. But she knew he was right. She was tired, and the idea of being alone again, even in her car, made her uneasy. "I'd appreciate that," she said softly. Cole nodded and showed her the guest room. It was simple but cozy, with clean sheets, soft pillows, and a small lamp on the bedside table. A gentle breeze came in through the window, carrying the scent of night flowers from outside. "I'll be in the living room if you need anything," Cole said. "You're safe here." The words made her chest tighten with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered again. "Anytime," he replied. He left the door slightly open so she wouldn't feel completely closed off, and then returned to the living room. Emma changed into a soft cotton shirt he had lent her, washed up, and sat on the edge of the bed. For a moment she simply breathed, letting the events of the day settle in her mind. She remembered the loneliness of the shed, the uncertainty, the quiet fear that had settled in her chest, and she remembered the moment she heard the horse, the moment hope returned. She thought about Cole, his calm voice, his steady eyes, the quiet strength in the way he helped her. He felt like someone who belonged to the land, someone shaped by open skies and long days. She felt safe with him in a way she hadn't expected. Later, unable to sleep just yet, she stepped out quietly and found him sitting on the porch, looking at the stars. The night sky spread endlessly above them, diamonds scattered across a dark velvet cloth. "Can't sleep?" Cole asked gently. Emma shook her head with a small smile. "Not yet." He gestured to the rocking chair beside him. "Sit." She sat down, the chair creaking softly beneath her. "The stars are so clear out here," she said, gazing upward. "Best part of living on a ranch," Cole replied. "The sky feels closer." For a few quiet minutes, they both looked up at the sparkling sky. The night wind was cool and soft, brushing against their skin like a whisper. "Cole?" Emma said after a moment. "Thank you. For everything today. For finding me. For bringing me here. For being kind. For being kind." Cole's eyes softened. "I'm glad I could help. Anyone would have." Emma looked at him. "Maybe. But not everyone would have helped the way you did." He didn't answer right away. He just smiled, a warm, sincere smile that made her chest feel lighter. "You're safe now," he said softly. "Tomorrow we'll check your car and get you back on your journey." Emma looked out at the stars again. "I don't feel like I'm in a hurry anymore." Cole glanced at her, surprised. "No?" She shook her head. "Today reminded me that sometimes life slows us down. Maybe for a reason." Cole nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes it does." A gentle silence followed, not awkward or uncertain, just peaceful. The night wrapped around them like a soft blanket, quiet and steady. Emma felt something shift inside her, a feeling she couldn't quite name. Maybe it was comfort, maybe gratitude, or maybe it was the sense that she had stepped into a moment that would change something in her life, in a small but important way. After a while, Cole stood and gently reminded her, "You should rest now. Big day tomorrow." She nodded. "Good night, Cole." "Good night, Emma." She returned to the guest room, and this time, when she lay down, sleep came easily. The gentle hum of the ranch outside the window, the memory of Cole's reassuring presence, and the safety of the warm room carried her into a peaceful dream. And though she didn't know what tomorrow would bring, she felt certain of one thing: she was no longer alone. Morning sunlight filled the guest room before Emma even opened her eyes. It painted the walls with a warm golden glow and made the curtains sway gently in the soft breeze. For a moment, she lay still, trying to remember where she was. Then the memory returned slowly: the sandstorm, the shed, the chain, and the cowboy who had rescued her. A small smile formed on her lips. "Cole." She sat up, her ankle feeling much better after resting. The red mark had faded, and the gentle cloth Cole wrapped around it was still neatly in place. She stood, stretching her arms, and looked out the window. The ranch land spread wide across the horizon, fields sprinkled with wildflowers, fences running far into the distance, and sunlight sparkling on the grasses. It felt peaceful in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. When she stepped into the dining area, she found Cole already there, preparing breakfast. He looked up with a soft smile. "Morning," he said kindly. "Did you sleep well?" Emma nodded. "Better than I expected. Morning feels different here." Cole laughed lightly. Ranch mornings have their own magic. The table was set with warm biscuits, fresh fruit, and eggs. Emma felt touched by the quiet care he put into everything he did. Nothing rushed, nothing careless, just calm and sincere. They ate while talking about simple things: the weather, the land, the sound of birds outside. Emma found herself relaxing more with each passing minute. She didn't feel like a stranger. She felt like she belonged in this moment. After breakfast, Cole stood and stretched. "Ready to go check on your car?" he asked. Emma nodded, though she felt a small twist in her stomach. She wasn't afraid, just uncertain about what the day held. Cole saddled the horse again, helping Emma up gently, and they made their way back toward the road. The morning breeze carried the scent of sage and warm dust. Emma held the saddle lightly, feeling more comfortable than she had the day before. When they reached her car, Cole inspected the engine with thoughtful concentration. He checked the fuel, the wires, and the battery. After a few minutes, he straightened up. "It's not damaged," he said. "Just needs a jump and a little cleaning. Sandstorms can confuse the engine." Emma breathed a sigh of relief. "So it's fixable?" "Very fixable," he answered with a smile. "We'll bring it back to the ranch and get it running again." Before they could begin, a soft sound came from the fence nearby. Cole turned his head, eyes narrowing with gentle curiosity. One of his ranch hands, an older man with kind eyes and a weathered face, was riding toward them on a horse. "Morning, Cole," the man called out. "Morning, Henry," Cole replied. Henry noticed Emma and offered a warm smile. "New friend?" Emma felt her cheeks warm. "Emma, nice to meet you." Henry tipped his hat respectfully. "Welcome to Dawson Ranch." The man dismounted and walked closer. "Saw something odd near the North Trail this morning," he told Cole. "A truck that doesn't belong to any of our workers. No one inside, but looked like it had been there for a bit." Cole's expression shifted, not worried, but thoughtful. "Probably someone passing through," he said calmly. "But I'll check it after we get Emma's car taken care of." Henry nodded. "Just thought I'd mention it." Emma listened quietly. She didn't feel afraid. There was no danger in their voices. Just simple ranch conversation. But she did feel curious. After Henry rode off, Emma looked at Cole. "Does something like that happen often?" Cole shook his head lightly. "Not really. But ranch land is wide. Sometimes travelers stop without realizing it's private property. Nothing unusual." His calmness eased her completely. Together they worked to move her car. Cole attached it to his horse with a secure rope harness, guiding both with steady patience. Emma walked beside him, holding the rope loosely, letting the horse do the pulling. The journey back was slow but smooth, filled with small moments of laughter whenever the rope tugged unexpectedly or the horse made a playful snort. When they finally reached the ranch workshop near the barn, Cole rolled the car into place and began cleaning sand from the engine. Emma watched him work, admiring the peaceful concentration on his face. He seemed so natural in his environment: steady hands, sure movements, and a calm presence that made everything feel easier. "Can I help?" she asked. Cole looked up, smiling. "You already are. Keeping me company counts." She laughed softly. "Then I'm very helpful." They worked side by side, chatting about their lives. Emma told him about her travels, her job in design, her love for photographing quiet places. Cole told her about the ranch, about growing up with open skies, and about how he spent time away to learn new skills before returning to take care of the land his family loved. There was a gentle warmth between them, not rushed, not forced, just quietly growing. By early afternoon, Emma's car made a healthy humming sound when Cole tested it. "It's good as new," he said proudly. Emma clapped her hands with excitement. "You're amazing," he chuckled. "Just handy with engines." But even as she smiled, Something inside Emma felt a little heavy. Her car was fixed. She could continue her journey. She should have felt ready. But instead, she felt a small, surprising sadness. She had been here only a short time, yet the ranch already felt like a safe corner of the world she didn't want to leave too soon. As if sensing her thoughts, Cole walked closer. "You don't have to go right away," he said gently. "There's no rush. You're welcome to stay as long as you want." Emma felt her heart soften. "Really?" "Of course," he said. "The ranch has plenty of space, and it's nice having company." His words made her smile in a shy, warm way she hadn't felt in a long time. Later in the afternoon, Cole suggested they check the north trail where Henry had seen the truck. Emma joined him, wanting to understand more about ranch life. They rode together on horseback, the land glowing under the soft sun. When they reached the north trail, they found nothing unusual, just a spot where someone had parked for a short time. No damage, no disturbance. Probably exactly what Cole had said earlier, a traveler stopping to rest. Cole nodded. All good. Emma felt relieved, even though there was never anything to fear. As they rode back, the wind carried the scent of flowers from a nearby field. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, letting the peacefulness wash over her. "I didn't expect today to feel so calm," she said quietly. Cole glanced at her. "You deserve calm after yesterday." Emma looked at him, her eyes warm. "You've been kind since the moment you found me." He shook his head lightly. "I just did what anyone should." But she felt something deeper in his tone, something gentle, humble, and genuine. They returned to the ranch house as the sun began to lower. Shadows stretched across the fields, and the sky turned shades of pink and orange. It was breathtaking. Cole stopped outside the barn, looking at the sky. "Sunsets are special here," he said softly. "They make you feel small, in a good way." Emma stood beside him, watching the horizon. "I think I could watch this every day." Cole's voice was quiet, thoughtful. "You could, for as long as you'd like." Emma felt her heartbeat flutter gently, not fast, not nervous, just a soft, surprising warmth. She wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know how long she would stay or where her journey would lead next. But she knew one thing for certain. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. She felt welcome, and she wasn't ready to say goodbye. The next morning arrived with soft light and a calm sky. Birds sang near the porch, creating a peaceful melody that drifted into Emma's room. She sat up slowly, letting the warmth of the gentle sunrise touch her through the window. For a moment, she stayed still, taking in the comfortable quiet of the ranch. It felt like waking inside a dream she didn't want to leave. But today was different. Today was the day she had to decide what came next. She stepped out of the room and found Cole on the porch, sipping a mug of warm tea. His hat rested beside him, and the gentle breeze moved his shirt softly. He looked up when he heard her steps. "Morning, Emma," he said with that warm smile she had come to recognize so well. "Morning," she replied, sitting beside him. For a moment they just enjoyed the quiet together. The sun was rising over the hills, painting the sky with soft pink and gold. The view was so beautiful that Emma felt her heart fill with something deep and peaceful. Cole looked at her gently. "Your car is ready whenever you are. But there's no hurry." Emma nodded, though the thought made her chest feel heavy. Even though she knew she couldn't stay forever, a part of her wished she could pause time to hold this moment a little longer. After breakfast, Cole walked with her to the workshop where her car was parked. The engine hummed perfectly. The windshield sparkled after being cleaned, and the tires were dust-free. Cole had taken more care than she expected, and she felt grateful for every detail. "You really fixed it," she said softly. Cole chuckled. "I told you I would." Emma ran her fingers along the hood of the car. It felt warm in the morning sun. She looked up at Cole, wanting to say something but unsure how to start. He seemed to sense her hesitation. "You've had a long journey," he said. "And this ranch was just a stop along the way." Emma lowered her gaze. "It didn't feel like just a stop," she whispered. Cole's eyes softened. I'm glad to hear that. A gentle silence filled the air. The kind of silence where nothing felt awkward. The kind where two people understood each other without needing many words. Before she could speak again, Henry, the older ranch hand, rode up on his horse. He waved from a distance with a cheerful smile. "Morning, you two," he called out. "Morning, Henry," Cole answered. Henry hopped off his horse with energy that didn't quite match his age. "I heard you're heading out today, Miss Emma. Thought I'd come say goodbye." Emma smiled warmly. "Thank you, Henry. You've been very kind." Henry tipped his hat. "Safe travels. And don't forget you're welcome here anytime." Emma nodded, her heart touched. Cole checked her car one last time, making sure everything was perfect. He didn't rush. If anything, he moved even slower than usual, as though part of him hoped time might stretch a little longer. When everything was ready, Emma stood beside the car door, looking at him. The ranch lay behind him in beautiful stillness. The wind carried a soft smell of flowers. It felt like nature itself was asking her to think carefully. "Cole," she said quietly. "Thank you for everything. For helping me. For giving me a place to feel safe." Cole shifted slightly, his expression gentle but a little emotional. "I'm glad I could help. You were alone out there, and it must have been scary. I'm just grateful I was nearby." Emma took a slow breath. "I'll never forget what you did for me." Cole smiled in that warm, simple way. "I didn't do anything special. I just found someone who needed help." Emma shook her head. "It was special to me." She opened the car door halfway, then paused. Something inside her felt unfinished. Her heart wasn't ready to drive away. Her eyes lifted toward Cole, and she spoke with a soft voice that carried a deeper meaning. "Would it be all right if I came back someday?" Cole's expression softened instantly, a quiet warmth filling his eyes. "You can come back any time," he said sincerely. "The ranch doors will always be open for you." Emma's chest tightened with emotion. "I'd like that." Cole stepped a little closer, not too close, just enough to show he cared. "You've been good company, Emma. These last couple of days, they felt brighter." Emma felt her cheeks warm. "They felt brighter for me, too." She looked at the wide land around her, the grass waving gently in the breeze, the barns standing quiet and strong, the sky stretching endlessly above them. She had come here by accident, but something about this place, about Cole, felt meaningful. She finally stepped into her car. Cole leaned down slightly so he could see her through the window. "Drive safe," he said softly. "I will. And, when the road gets quiet again, remember, you're welcome here," he added, almost like a whisper. Emma nodded. "I'll remember." She started the engine, and it hummed smoothly. She waved to Henry, who tipped his hat again with a smile. Then she looked once more at Cole, his calm expression, his warm eyes, the steady kindness she had felt from him since the moment he opened the shed door. She slowly drove forward, watching him grow smaller in the rearview mirror. The ranch house faded into the distance, but the feeling it gave her stayed strong inside her heart. After a few miles, Emma stopped the car at a lookout point. She stepped out and stared back at the land she had just left. The morning light washed over the fields like a soft blanket. The sky looked endless, calm, gentle. She breathed in the warm air and closed her eyes for a moment. She smiled, not because she was leaving something behind, but because she now knew she had found a place to return to, a place where she felt seen, a place where she felt safe, a place where a cowboy with kind eyes and a quiet voice had changed a difficult day into something unforgettable. As she continued her journey down the road, she carried the ranch with her, its peace, its warmth, and the memory of someone who had become important in a short time. And in the quiet of her heart, she promised herself she would return, not because she needed help, but because she wanted to. And somewhere behind her, standing on his porch, with the wind brushing gently through his hair, Cole Dawson watched the road with a soft smile, knowing that this was not an ending, just the beginning of something quietly beautiful.